Hi, and welcome to Board Game Tutorials with Carissa. Today we're going to be going over Wingspan. Wingspan is a game where we are essentially bird enthusiasts trying to attract the best collection of birds into our habitats. I will go over some of the main elements and then I will go over them in detail as I go through them while we play a few rounds. So we have our rounds. There's only going to be 4 rounds each game, so there's a finite number of turns, and they will have selected round objectives that will be different each game. We have the bird feeder, and this is where we get our food from. We have private objectives. We have the bird food, bird cards, and bird eggs. These are our little turn tokens that we have, and this is our game board. Let's get into it. Before we get into the game itself, I'm going to quickly go over our score sheet. So the goal in this is to get the most amount of points, and these are the ways that you get points. You get points for the points that appear on the birds, which is this number right beside the feather. You also get points for bonus cards, which is your private objective card. So one of these, it will give you an objective, and that's how you get points. I will explain that in a minute. There are end of round goals, and that's on this sheet right here. There will be a specific goal, which appears on here. Again, I will go over some of these. The amount of eggs that you have laid on top of your cards on your board. The amount of food on cards, which will be better explained once we have birds on our board. And tucked cards, which again is another action that you can take with certain bird cards. And then the total of that, and whoever has the highest score wins. We're going to go over some of the bird cards. There are 5 main types of bird cards. There's this one, which is a when played bird card. So you only do this action right when you play this bird. Another one, this is the most common, is a when activated. And then you do the action when your player token lands on that bird. This one is a once in between turns. So you have to pay attention to what other people are doing. And when they do something on their turn, you may get to take this action. There are other birds that have no actions whatsoever, and these usually have either a high scoring number or a low feeding cost. And then there is a when activated, but it is a when if sort of action. So this one is look at a card from the deck. If the wingspan is less than 75 centimeters, tuck it behind this card. If not, discard it. Some of the elements on the card that you need to pay attention to. These symbols are its food cost. So this bird, to play it, would take 2 worms and a grain, and you can only play it in these 2 habitats. So this habitat and this habitat. This is for your points at the end of the game. This is the type of bird nest that it is, and this is how many eggs that you can lay on top of this bird. At the start of each game, 3 bird cards will be drawn face up that everybody can see. These food dice will be rolled in the bird feeder, and that will tell us what is available to get for food. A public end of round objective will be chosen. So this one is eggs in the wetlands area. So that is for round 1. And every player will be given 5 bird cards, 1 of each type of food, and a private objective. So I'm going to look at my private objective first, which says birds that eat cherries. 2 to 3 birds in my habitat would be 3 points, 4 plus birds would be 7 points, and it's any bird that has a cherry symbol as their food cost. It also tells you the likelihood of getting those cards. Then I look at my bird cards, And I need to whittle this down to 10 items between the food and the cards. So if I want to keep 3 or 4 birds, I would need to put away some of this food. So I obviously, because of my objective, I want to keep birds that eat cherries because that will grant me more points at the end of the game. Now that I have my private objective, my 3 bird cards that I have decided to keep, along with my 2 food that I've decided to keep, we can get started with our turns. When you take your turn, you take your little player token, and whether you want to play a bird, gain food, lay eggs, or draw bird cards, you start on the rightmost empty space and then move to the left. So because I need more food, I have some bird cards that I like, I'm going to gain food from the bird feeder. This is the rightmost empty space, so I place my player token here. I get to choose some food from this bird feeder, in which case I'm going to take this cherry. So I take that dice out of the bird feeder and I take a cherry. I move my token to here, and that is my first turn. And then we go around and everybody takes their turn. For my second turn, I'm going to play this bird. So this bird must be placed in the forest. It'll cost a worm and a cherry. And the action is when played. So immediately when I play this, I get to draw 2 bonus cards and keep 1. The bonus cards are the private objectives. So I'm going to pay my 1 cherry and my 1 worm. And I'm going to play this here. So I have played a bird in this column. So I put that here. I play this bird. I move this here. And then I get to draw 2 more objective cards, and I get to choose between these cards, whichever one I want. My second private objective I have chosen is birds with wingspans of 30 centimeters or less. If I get 4 to 5 birds, I get an extra 3 points. If I have 6 or more birds, I get an extra 6 points. I chose this because it has a high percentage that these cards will come up in here. Now the next time I play a turn where I want to gain food, I take my player token, and now this is the rightmost empty space, so I place it here, and this means that I get another food from the bird feeder. I'm going to take a worm, and here, if I like, I can discard one of my bird cards in order to get another food. I like the bird cards that I currently have, so I'm not going to do that. I then move my token to there. If this bird had a when activated action, I would take that, and then I move my token here, and that's the end of that turn. I still need quite a bit more food, so I'm going to take another turn gaining food. So I will go here. I am going to take this one, and I can take a worm or a grain from here. So I am going to take a worm. Again, I move it here and then here. Again, I'm still low on food. I'm going to do that again. I still need another food. I'm going to take a food. However, there's only 1 food item left in the bird feeder. If that item is not something that I want, I can re-roll all the dice. If there were multiple dice in the bird feeder, but they were all the exact same type of food, I could also have that re-rolled for free. So I'm going to re-roll these and see if I can manage to get a cherry. Yes, so I'm going to take food. I'm going to take that cherry. Move that token here and here. Now, these next 2 cards, the reason I wanted so much food is this card has an action that when played, you play an additional bird in the prairie habitat and pay its normal cost. And so I had to make sure I had enough food to play both of these cards at the same time. But I still have to plan ahead a little bit, because once you get into the second column, you have to pay 1 egg in order to lay a bird in any of these spots. So before I try and place any of these 2 birds, I will need to take my token, and my turn will be to lay a couple of eggs. So I'm going to do this. I grab 2 eggs. I place it on any bird that allows for eggs. And that's that turn. And then my last turn is I'm going to play a bird. So I'm going to play this bird. So this one costs a worm and a cherry. And my second bird that I'll play costs a worm, a cherry, and a grain. And I place that here. And I have to spend an egg because it is in the second column in order to play that bird. And that uses all of my food. And that concludes round 1 of this game. So now we remove all of our player tokens off of the board, and we look at the end of round goals. So eggs found in the wetlands. I do not have any. So if we were playing with someone else and they had even 1 bird with eggs on this habitat, they would get this spot and I would get this spot if it was a 2-player game. So for argument's sake, that is what we were going to do. So you take one of your player tokens and you place it on the appropriate spot. For me, it's that second place spot. And then we start our second round, which means we take an objective. Let's do it this way. So birds that have this type of nest with eggs on them. So it's not the number of eggs, but it's the number of birds with this nest with an egg on it. So that is our round 2 objective. Now, because I played all of my bird cards and I used all of my food, I'm gonna need to get bird cards and food right away in this round. So my first turn is going to be getting cards. So I can take 1 card. I've chosen this hummingbird because its wingspan is less than 30 centimeters, and that's one of my objectives. So that's one of the bird cards I'm going to take, and that was my turn. That's it. I now refill the bird row, and then someone else takes a turn. Now I'm going to gain food so that I can play that card, and this guy can eat one of any food type. So I'm going to take a fish from the bird feeder, and that is my turn. My next turn, I want to play this card. I want to play it here. So I'm going to play a bird on this turn. I need to spend 1 egg to play it, and I need to pay my fish. You'll see as we fill up the board, when we take our turns, we get more food, more eggs, more cards, and then we have the option of trading in either a card for more food, food for an egg for a card. And it gets better as we go along. Now I'm again out of bird cards and I need one, so I'm going to go for a bird card, but I'm not a fan of these 3, so I'm actually going to take a blind one from here. That's that turn. My next turn, I will obviously need food, so I'm going to take this worm. And the last 2 are rats, and I don't want or need rats, so I'm going to re-roll all of these dice. I'm going to take one of these, and I'm going to take a worm. And we just keep playing and building this up. Now we go on the when activated card. So each player gains 1 food from the bird feeder, starting with the player of your choice. So I would maybe take this opportunity to get a grain, and then the other player would get to take whatever they would like. Let's say that they take a grain. And then it goes here, and then here. Well, I'm gonna lay some eggs because I don't have any eggs going. So I'm going to lay some eggs, so I get 3. And this has a when activated. All players lay an egg on any bowl nested bird. You may lay 1 egg on 1 additional bowl nest bird. And I have 2 birds that have bowl nests, so I can use this, and then it goes here, and then here. And then for my last turn, I'm going to gain more food. I don't like the 2 worms that are there, so I'm going to re-roll all 5 again. And that came up with the cherry that I was wanting, so I'm going to take a cherry, and I'm actually going to take a grain. Even if I don't need a grain, because at any point on your turn, you may trade in 2 of one type of food for 1 of another type. So I've gained food, and then all players gain from the bird feeder again. There's only fish. I'm gonna take a fish, that's fine. And then the other player would take the other fish. And that's the end of round 2. So now again, we look at the end of round goals, and I do actually have a bird with that kind of nest with an egg. So let's say that the other player also only had 1 with that type of nest. We would both go here. I remove my tokens, and then we move on to round 3. So round 3, we're going to choose our objective. So let's choose eggs in bowl nests. And it is a new round, so we refresh these, which I'm pretty sure I forgot to do before. These get discarded, this gets refreshed, and all of the food in the bird feeder also gets refreshed. And now I'm going to simulate gameplay for rounds 3 and 4. And that was my last turn. So now we will go over the scoring. So first, the end of round goals is total number of birds. So I have 4, 7, 8, 9. Let's say that I had fewer birds than the person I was playing with, so I would get that spot right there. We can take your player tokens off of here, and this is where we get started with our score. So the first thing we do is add up the points that are on the birds. So that's the number by the feather, and we add them all up. So for my birds, I've got 32. Then we add up the points from our bonus cards. So mine were, I have 2 bonus cards. So birds that eat cherries, let's count how many. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I get the extra 7 points there for one of my bonus cards. And then my second bonus card is birds with wingspans of 30 centimeters or less. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if I've got 4 to 5 birds, so I get an extra 3 points for that. So for my bonus points, I get 10 points there. The end of round goals, so I get 1 point there, 5 there, 6 there, and 4 there. So 6, 12, 16. So I get 16 points for the end of round goals. I count how many eggs I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14. I don't have any food that was sitting on any cards, so I get 0 for that. And I don't have any tucked cards because I did not have any of those activated actions. So I get 0 for that. So then I add that all up, and that is my total score. So my total score for this game is 72 points. So those were the basics of how to play Wingspan. There is also a version of the game where you can play by yourself against basically a computer. It's just an autonomous player that you can play against. So this is 1 to 5 players. There are also various expansions for this game, and there's 2 different versions on top of that, including Wormspan and Finspan. And Wormspan is all about dragons, and Finspan is all about fish. Thank you so much for joining me today, and happy gaming!